Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Pick Up Sports Talk. I'm Brandon Schiffman.
And I'm Spencer Stein. We don't even have to do a whole intro. We're just going to open with the Bears. I am excited to talk about college basketball today as it's starting soon. I'm wearing my Indiana sweatshirt. But we have to talk about the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Justin Fields is officially the franchise.
Oh, yeah. I believe so as well. I mean, the past, what's been a month?
5 weeks.
He's just looked really, really great. But I want to dive into this game because it was super duper fun to watch from the get-go.
I mean, first things first, he established an NFL record. And ESPN is usually all over these bummy, kind of super specific records. He set a simple one. Most rushing yards in a game by a quarterback. No one seems to be talking about it.
Yeah, it wasn't like most rushing yards by a quarterback on like a full moon in October. This was like a genuine, real record. I'm super happy about it. Overall, I've just been super excited about his growth over the past few weeks. I mean, he went from like an afterthought to like people legitimately thinking he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah,
and a snap of a finger.
We're going to give a tier list in a second, but I do think that now that I think the trades were good. I think this establishes that the trades were good because realistically, as a Bear fan, I trust us to build a defense.
Oh, yeah.
Historically, in my lifetime, and honestly for the last 50 years, we've always been able to build a defense.
Never had a good quarterback,
and
always had good
defense. On top of it, that's what Matt Eberflus can do.
Yes.
So I'm kind of glad that now we have some good weapons for him. Mooney looks great. Claypool just wasn't in the offense yet. He had a week to learn plays. All we gave him was screens and deep shots. That's fine. And we also almost won that game against a great team if it weren't for a bad penalty call.
Or a bad no call.
But we also had 2 bad calls on us, one against Waddle, one against Hill. But I think it's good that now the offense is pretty solid. I think all we need now is a right tackle, a center, and the offense is pretty established. I like the run game. I think another receiver would help. I think Fields, though, is the guy. He's a dual threat, and that's all we need for a franchise. I think long-term now the Bears are in an exceptional position, possibly the best in the NFC North.
Perfect. Do you mind if I break down the game a little bit real quick? So we were facing up against the Miami Dolphins, who have a good defense, but the strength of their team overall is their offense. It's no secret. Our defense, I'm not going to lie to you, got torched. But we were kind of expecting that because if you think about it, if our offense can be punching and fighting with these offenses, as long as we can put up the same amount of points or similar amount of points, we should be in these games.
But
I think that's what we have.
I'm also happy with us losing after the game. During the game, I'm obviously rooting for us, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking it's better we lose. It's better we get the draft pick. The defense, I don't expect to be good. I couldn't care less that they sucked. All that matters, and I said from the jump,
it's not great though because we do have young cornerbacks and young. I mean,
but they're playing well. Kyler Gordon has improved a ton. Jalen Johnson's really good. Jaquan Brisker's really good.
Jalen Johnson's getting
everything's looking good.
I mean, anyone gets torched by Tyreek.
I mean, not really. He had a good pass breakup or two.
I mean,
but I don't expect him to do much.
143 yards.
I mean, a lot of that was on Kyler too, but I don't expect them to do much against Tyreek Hill. It's not like an expectation. But as long as the young guys look good, and honestly, we'd rather lose. Everything's working out. That's what Fields did. And do you care that the defense sucked or that we lost?
It's not problematic to me. I think that it's one of those things now where we got to look forward to the draft and free agency. And I think the biggest thing is that these past few weeks have really instilled a level of trust. For me, at least, I think most Bears fans, and Luke Getsy, Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles. I just think everything's starting to click, and I'm really happy about it.
The turning point was that Thursday night massacre at Soldier Field where they barely scored against Washington.
It wasn't the most boring game.
I heard that after that week, Poles, Eberflus, Getsy sat down and talked about how to utilize Fields' legs, and it has worked to perfection.
Ever since
and the designed runs, the play call, everything's been great, so I'm happy with that. But I want to focus more on Justin Fields, Brandon. Where does Justin Fields rank, you think, from here on out as a future quarterback? So if you're a franchise starting with a quarterback, what guys do you put ahead of him? Can I start, do you think?
Okay. We can do it tier by tier.
For sure, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow. That's the 4 you for sure put ahead of him.
And I
think Fields is in the next tier. I still put Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts ahead of him as 2 guys. I probably put Fields at 7. The other guys in that tier are Kyler Murray, maybe Dak Prescott, and probably Deshaun Watson. But that's the tier I put Fields in, and in my eyes, he is at 7.
All right, so my tier list goes 1 and 2, Allen and Mahomes. I'm not saying they're light years ahead of everyone else, but as of right now, they're the two guys right now. It's those 2, and then it falls off. My next tier, Burrow, Herbert, and Hurts. Hurts this year has been great, and I see a lot of people denying it. I don't see why. Yes, there are holes in his game, but he is doing his part to fill those holes. In a different system, it might not work, but he's taking advantage of the one he has. He's taking advantage of the O-line. He's been running the ball well. I think he's just a slightly more developed version of Justin Fields.
I was going to say, so Fields' career trajectory, I put most similarly to Jalen Hurts.
Yes, they have a similar style of play.
And Hurts also started by looking poorly, but the difference is Justin is starting to look good in a bad system, and Hurts only started to look good because of his system.
I mean, yeah, but you can't hold that against him.
I mean, you kind of can. I think when I'm talking
about
starting
against Allen and Mahomes,
but I'm saying
Mahomes
starting a franchise is what we're talking about. And if I'm starting a franchise, I don't know who else is going to be there. I know that the pure talent of Herbert and Burrow, I'm all day taking over Hurts. And same with Allen and Mahomes. Their mechanics, their ability to run, their ability to make plays is elite. That's why them two are in their own tier. Then Herbert and Burrow, and then I think Hurts is right there. I put him above Fields. Same with Lamar Jackson. But I don't think that not either of them are in the talent tier of Burrow or Herbert.
Yeah. So I have Hurts just off performance, though, is what I'm saying. Like, he's looked really good this year. It'd be hard to knock him after what he's done.
That's not the argument. It's performance. You could talk about whoever's in the best with the best team.
I mean, yeah, but the development he's shown in the past year has shown me that there could be more good things coming.
So where do you put Fields?
Fields, I have him. I have Hurts, and then my next tier would be Lamar, Fields, Kyler, Watson, and then at the bottom of that tier is like Dak and T-Law. I honestly would almost kind of put them in the tier below.
So, but if you're talking about how this year's performance is what matters, how can Fields be at number 7 for you?
See, the thing is, although he's been great the past 5 weeks, the beginning of the year was tough, but because he's so young, we're going to forgive that if that makes sense.
But then why does it matter about Hurts being in a great system and his production this year? Why is that taken into account?
Because I'd argue Hurts is taking just as big of a jump as Justin Fields. And
I don't think you could say
I'd say it's at a similar level, though. I'd say it's at a similar
level.
But
I don't think you could say that Hurts' play is off of pure talent.
But also Hurts' performance, I think Hurts started genuinely lower. I mean, I think Fields started lower, but I think Hurts is at a higher ceiling right now.
I don't know.
I think they've jumped the same amount, but I think Hurts is just at a higher ceiling.
By the way, I also have Hurts at 5. I'm just arguing that his natural talent, if you put him on any situation, he's not in the same category as Herbert and Burrow. But by the way, Justin Herbert's looking weak.
Yeah, Justin Herbert's looked bad, and Burrow's just fun to watch. I mean, like, every week's like a show with that guy.
And he's bouncing back, too. So I think Hurts is good, but I really think Fields can become like Hurts, and I think our team can become like the Eagles. That's the most similar trajectory, and that's what we hope for. We're gonna interject some college football before we get to the more NFL, and I want to start the marquee game this week. Georgia 27, Tennessee 13. I was honestly kind of disappointed with how this game went. It was the second most interesting game of the day.
Yeah, for sure.
And Tennessee didn't play as well as I thought they would. But realistically, do you think this was that Tennessee has been overplaying expectations all year, or is Georgia that elite?
Okay, so coming into this game, I predicted Tennessee to lose. I think that as much as I've loved to watch them this year and as good as they've been, it wasn't a Cinderella, but it almost felt like that way in the sense that they took over. I think I became slightly overrated though, and I think the answer to your question is I think Georgia is just simply that good.
Yeah.
I really do. I think everything was working for them. Their offense was great. I think Stetson Bennett honestly has become underrated. Like, I generally do. People, even with like the system QB thing, he's just made it work at the highest level of college football. But their defense is just something completely special. Like, their defense was locking down what's been probably one of the most high-powered offenses in college football all year. And it was just, I don't want to say it was a slaughter because it wasn't, but Georgia, there was never a doubt, I feel like, if that makes sense.
You're dead right. Georgia's the best team, and it's not particularly close. There's no reason to hold a playoff. Georgia's going to win it. You could tell me that now. Cancel the playoff. It's all Georgia. Stetson Bennett, first off, while I was watching the game, I was saying there's an argument to be made. He's in the Heisman conversation. He shouldn't win it. He's not the most valuable player, but what he does for his team is so spectacular. He fits so well. He has 11 touchdowns and only 3 picks. He has an incredible quarterback rating.
But I think he's better than a systems quarterback.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but
past that level.
But still, he realistically shouldn't be in the Heisman conversation, but he's just so good for his team. Georgia is that good. And here's what I want to say. In my prediction, I predicted Georgia to win. I said it'd be close. And here's where I went wrong. I said that it's the best offense versus the best defense in the country. And yes, I think defense will prevail, but it'll be close.
Yep.
Tennessee is a top 5 offense this year. I wasn't wrong about that.
Yep.
Georgia's defense is top 5
league
ever.
Ever.
It's not this year. And the crazy thing is, they were better last year.
Exactly right.
It's just, and they've lost their defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning, who's now trying to sniped away from Oregon. It doesn't matter. They have talent on all sides, all facets of the ball. Jalen Carter, I think, is going to be the number 1 player off the board next year's draft outside of a quarterback.
Yeah.
Keely Ringo got a crucial pick in the red zone. It wasn't a good throw by Hendon Hooker. And Hendon Hooker didn't play probably his worst game of the year. Yeah. But you could say a lot of that was because of
competition,
Georgia. And Georgia is that good. They're going to win it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to get to the next game real quick if you're done with this one.
Yep.
Bama versus LSU.
It's a shame. I talked about LSU the whole time, and I said, but Bama's going to blow them out. Not what happened.
Yeah, no. I just want to say real quick, After this game, seeing Bryce Young talk to his teammates, and a lot of people were saying, like, oh, that was him basically giving up on the team. And I just find it, funny because Bama, relatively speaking, everyone thought that this year was going to be Bama, Georgia, and, Ohio State's good, but, the thought was it was going to be those two in a league of their own. Bama's now completely out of the conversation, it feels.
Yeah, and they're not a bad team. It's just once you have 2 losses, you're done.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
From the start of the season, I said I didn't know who they're going to lose to, but it's going to be someone because I don't think this is Bama's best team. I thought it'd be Arkansas and Ole Miss. It was LSU and Tennessee. Let that stand. I'm sorry, Saban. This year's done. He knows it's done. Bama goes in cycles where different teams will dominate them. But the issue I would be thinking about is that Georgia's not going away anytime soon. I think they might have better prospects.
They're just going to keep recruiting well because they're elite.
Yes, you can talk a little bit more about Bama if you want, because I want to talk about LSU.
Yeah, so overall, it wasn't necessarily that it was a bad Bama game. They just simply didn't put up the points needed to beat this LSU team, and that wound up with them getting upset. Overall, though, yeah, it was kind of almost like the Texas game. You thought at the end of the game, LSU was winning, but you thought at the end of the game, Bryce was going to turn on. To be fair, he did, but LSU made the gutsy play at the end of the game, and that wound up winning them the game. So that's
exactly, and I'm going to talk about LSU. Last week I said that if they beat Bama, the winner of this game still has a shot at the playoff.
Yeah.
And Bama's for sure out. A 2-loss team, I don't think he's ever made it. Definitely not making waves. I'm thinking Ohio State first year. I think they had 1 loss, but. Yeah. I think LSU still has a shot, and they have really tough games to end the season. They have on the road against Arkansas and on the road against Texas A&M with the cupcake against UAB thrown in there. Yes, they will have to win those games and beat Georgia to get in, but I think if you're looking at a team with wins against Bama, Georgia, on the road against Arkansas, on the road against A&M, on the road against Florida, and their only loss against a good Tennessee team and opening night against Florida State, you have to put them in. Yeah. So when we're looking at teams that could still make the playoff, I think realistically, you can consider LSU. For me, Georgia should be in no matter what. Yep. I think Ohio State and Michigan are both obviously possibilities, as is TCU.
I think it's one or the other, though.
I agree. Yeah. As is TCU, because they're undefeated if they win their conference. Tennessee, I think, could make it in with 1 loss still. Mm-hmm. And then in the Pac-12...
You think one team makes out of the Pac-12?
I mean, we'll see, but I'm saying there's still possibilities for Oregon, USC, and UCLA to make it. I don't think Utah will, realistically. No. And then the 9th team, I think LSU. But let me make it clear, they're not going to. They're not going to beat Georgia.
I think, I think it'd be unfair to.
But good for Brian Kelly. He's kind of proven himself.
But also about that, real quick. Yeah. I just want to say, I think that everyone went from Brian Kelly's a bad coach, oh my God, Brian Kelly's top 3 in college football. I just feel like that was a quick jump. I really do. I think that was a very quick jump.
I was quick to say that he's not a fit there. Yeah. And I don't think he's a top 3 coach in college football. I'm not overreacting like that. And I've honestly never liked Brian Kelly my whole life. Never thought he was that good. I always thought he was meh. But this win shows that he's going to live in the SEC. That's all I see, is that I think it's going to work. He'll stay afloat. Let's move on, because last week there were 10 teams that could make the playoff. Now there are 11. Now it's 9, because Bama and Clemson.
Clemson's off.
Clemson went down. Game. I said both teams were bad, but one of the bad teams played decent, and that's Notre Dame. It's a shame they had those horrible losses against Stanford and Marshall at home. That's disappointing. I honestly don't even think they should be ranked, because Clemson's not that good. It's not a great win. But now they can make a decent bowl game. They've eliminated Clemson. Clemson
just looked like some absolute frauds out there. DJ had another bad game. Starting to think that's the standard for him. And they brought in 5-star true freshman, Cade Klubnik, who
one pass?
One play.
He threw a red zone a pick in their own territory.
I loved him in high school, and it's just unfortunate to see that. But then they took him out, put DJ back in. Didn't go much better that time. I just think overall, Notre Dame's defense prevailed. They looked significantly better than...
But I kind of expected that. I think it's their offense prevailed. I mean, first off, Notre Dame realistically could be 1 quarterback away from being a really good team long term. Audric Estime ran all over Clemson. Yeah. That's the storyline of this game. That I said it would come down to the run game. Notre Dame has a better run game. Mm-hmm. That's what it came down to. And Clemson's defense, though, I expected them to play better, and they fell apart. Brian Bresee, they have 2, I think, first-round picks. They should have some. They should have first-round picks. They won't. Mm-hmm. Ohio State. They barely beat Northwestern. It was tied 7-7 at the half. They were only up 7 going into the 4th. Are they overrated? Are they still better than Michigan in your eyes?
I think overall this game, I think that the weather was pretty bad. Northwestern got out to a hot start. Nothing really came of that. So yeah, I think Ohio State might be slightly overrated. I still think that they're a very good team, but just slightly overrated. But I still think head-to-head, Ohio State's the favorite team against Michigan.
I agree, but I do think they're a little overrated, and I think this is a tough week. Obviously, you said that the conditions played a part, but I still think C.J. Stroud's a bit of an overrated prospect. He's a great passer, but he really hasn't proven much in his college.
It's a lot about the physical tools, and I think overall, when you look at quarterbacks with all the physical tools, in this class. You're going to see guys like Will Levis, C.J. Stroud.
I love Levis, yeah.
I think Levis hasn't shown much to me.
Young should be the clear one.
Yeah.
And then Levis. But
Levis hasn't shown much to me.
I mean, I know, but neither is Stroud, and I think Levis has all the tools.
I mean, I think Stroud overall is just a better prospect.
We'll see, but I really don't like anyone in this quarterback class. And Michigan, TCU, Oregon, UCLA, USC, they all won.
Yep.
So I want to get to this, Brandon. Oh, by the way, Travion Henderson was out for Ohio State, and Smith and Jigga was just coming off injury, so we'll see. What do you expect from the new rankings by the College Football Playoff Committee?
So I think Georgia remains 1. And wait, so you're saying for this upcoming week? Yeah. I think Ohio State's going to stay the 2. I think it stays relatively similar. I do. Like I think it'd be like difficult to see it change all that much. I think Bama obviously is going to fall way back, and LSU's probably going to rise. But I think you can't knock Tennessee that much. It's not like they got blown out by 40.
I don't know. I think Tennessee should move back.
And Clemson's for sure.
Yeah, they're for sure
sailing away.
Sail away. I'm gonna go astray. I'm gonna say what I think my rankings should be. Georgia should obviously be the 1.
Yep.
I think that Michigan should be the 2 because I truly think that they've proven to me more than Ohio State has, especially after Ohio State has this bad loss. And Michigan has been blowing teams out. They looked horrible in the first half against Rutgers. Let me make that clear.
They were losing. Or wait, no, they took the lead right before halftime.
They went on to blow them out.
Before
that, they blew out Michigan State. They blew out Penn State. They beat Indiana. They beat Iowa. I think Michigan's proven more than Ohio State. And then at 4, I'd put TCU. They're undefeated. They've honestly won some good games. I think the undefeated teams have to be at the top. After that, I'd put Oregon above Tennessee. I know that I know Tennessee has a better win. I know that they've arguably been the better team, and I know they played Georgia much closer. But I think Oregon's loss was so long ago, and Bo Nix has looked so good. He's looked better than Hendon Hooker. He's in the Heisman conversation. I think he's definitely going to make it to New York City for the Heisman ceremony. I'd put Oregon above them, followed by Tennessee. Behind them, I'd probably go LSU and then the rest of the Pac-12 teams.
I think right now
UCLA.
I'm taking Tennessee over Oregon personally. I think that LSU. So you said LSU would be like 7. Yeah, that makes sense. Pac-12, the 2 Pac-12 teams, and that kind of gets messy from there. But I'd take Tennessee over Oregon personally.
I don't know. We'll see what the committee does. And then
I think head-to-head it's a good
I listed my 9 teams I think have a path to the playoff. Do you think I was on point with that? I can list them again if you want. It's Ohio State and Michigan. It's Georgia. I think Tennessee still has a path. In the Pac-12, you have Oregon, USC, UCLA, and you have TCU and LSU.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with that. I think LSU would be harder for just because it's hard to justify 2-loss team, especially considering that at multiple points.
So if LSU though runs the table, meets Georgia, I would put a 2-loss LSU team over a 1-loss Oregon.
Yeah,
even
for sure.
They're both champs,
but I don't think that's likely to. No. That's why I think LSU of the group you just named, even of like the Pac-12 teams, LSU is the lowest chance by a significant margin.
I agree. Before we get to the NFL, the rest of the NFL continued. Brandon, talk to me about Texas A&M.
All right, so first things first, Texas A&M coming into the year was ranked number 6. So during preseason, ranked number 6. All the buzz was Texas A&M, right? Since the season started, through injuries and just poor play, they're now 3-6 overall, tied for the worst record in the SEC with, I think it's Auburn and Vanderbilt. Yep. They're 1-5 in SEC competition, and due to all this horrendous play, they lost their 5-star recruit and is 5-star linebacker and Texas native Anthony Hill. Rumors saying he might go to Texas, who as of right now isn't an SEC team.
They will be.
They will be, but that's funny to me. And I think this whole thing's just ironic because they spent I think it was like supposedly $30 million on recruits, and Jimbo was taking shots at Saban with this new expectation that because of NIL and their boosters, they were going to compete with Bama. And now they're back. I mean, not back, but now they're basically the laughingstock of the SEC. And I just think overall that shows that more recruits are going to stop taking A&M as seriously as they were. And overall, I just think Texas A&M as right now is doomed.
On top of that, they just make me angry. I don't like any of their traditions. Nothing about it I like about Texas A&M. Let's move on to the NFL. And I'm going to talk about the biggest storyline, not of Sunday, but of Monday so far. Jeff frickin' Saturday. His job at ESPN. I love Jeff Saturday. I'm a big ESPN guy.
Funny guy.
And when I think of Jeff Saturday, what I think of is that every Tuesday morning, he does this segment called Pancakes where he looks at the biggest blocks of the weekend. All he basically does is throw pancakes on the ground and scream.
Yeah.
This is going to be a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
The Indianapolis Colts fired their head coach, Frank Reich, and their interim coach is Jeff Saturday. No coaching experience. No. Former center for the Colts tons of years ago.
Bet they're regretting losing Eberflus now.
Yes, honestly. This move is so crazy to me. First off, do you think they should have fired Reich? And second off, Jeff Saturday?
Because of their expectations coming into the year, and I think that you and I were a little bit higher on them the most, but still, yes, I think that after this starts the year, yes, they've been hurt, yes, they've been bad, but this is awful. But Jeff Saturday is especially weird, and you and I were talking about it at lunch today. That would be if the Oklahoma City Thunder hired Kendrick Perkins to be their coach. I can think of multiple people on ESPN I'd rather have as my coach.
Ryan Clark, Louis Riddick. Honestly, these guys know their stuff.
Honestly, so many.
I like the hire. I like the hire more than a lot of other guys at ESPN. Here's what I'll talk about.
Okay.
They needed to fire Reich.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear.
To be gone, yeah.
And the question was,
I think liking that's questionable, though.
And the question was, would they do it mid-season or at the end of the season? And if they did it, if they knew it was bound to happen, why make him sit around? Mm-hmm. And you're not going to fire him mid-season just to get it. You're not doing a coaching search mid-season. Whoever you get's going to be interim. There's going to be a whole new coaching search in the offseason, and you're probably not going to keep the interim coach.
No, you're not.
Why not shake things up? Why not go with a guy who is not on the radar? You could see if he could be a coach, and they're not looking for someone to focus on the scheme. They're going to stick with offensive, defensive schemes. They're looking for someone
a face of the franchise
to be a face, to inspire the players, to give them a chance. And if you're looking for any shot to spark, you're going with someone who knows the organization well. He knows football incredibly well, and most importantly, he knows the offensive line really well. He knows how offensive line coaches work. He was a 15-year NFL vet, and what the Colts need to stick to, especially with no quarterback, because Sam Ehlinger is horrible. They're going to stick to the run game, and someone who's going to emphasize that is Jeff Saturday. I can't imagine him sitting on the sideline in his headset. I can't. And realistically, all the plays, everything on game day is going to be run by the coordinators. I kind of like the idea of bringing in a possible spark plug, seeing what he's got. It's going to be weird, yes, but I think taking a shot on him isn't a horrible idea. It's just kind of weird.
The reason why...
Especially for culture reasons.
The reason why I disagree is because you're talking about how they need to bring in a face of the franchise and got to motivate the players. When this season for them is essentially a throwaway. At this point, they're just...
But that's the thing. He has the greatest chance of making it a non-throwaway.
I mean... No, just I don't think they have a shot at making the wild card right now. They're 3-5 and they have some hard games coming up. Overall, I can't see this being a productive season. I agree that there's no reason to bring in, there isn't necessarily a reason to bring in some super serious guy as the interim because they're going to be bad regardless.
That's what I'm saying. Why make the defensive coordinator who's underwhelmed or the offensive coordinator who's clearly crap? Why make one of them the head coach? They're not going to do anything.
Better guys to hire.
Also, the team's going to be disappointed for the rest of the year. Why not throw in a spark plug? I think it's a good idea. I like it.
I just think there wasn't necessarily a great reason.
So what? Teams don't, Brendan, do you know how expensive an NFL team is? They don't just throw away the season. What's going to put fans in the seats? What's going to give their players inspiration?
Someone who's never coached isn't going to win them games.
Who's going to win them games then? You tell me.
I mean, they don't have much opportunity to
win games. What wins them games is a spark plug. By the way, just talk about this Sunday's game.
But a smiling face in a locker room is not going to be the...
What is? Give me a better idea.
They're just an underwhelming team. They're an underwhelming team. I think they could have...
I know, but NFL franchises don't just abandon the season. As bad as it is, do you know how much money Jim Irsay puts in this team?
I'd argue that this is more so abandoning the season than appointing one of their coordinators.
I don't know, Brent. I think it's a higher ceiling move. It reminds me of our Anthony Davis conversation last week. It's a move that gives them a higher chance at competing. They're not doing anything if they stick by the
They're not making
rules.
the wild card.
When you're a bad team, you have to think outside of the box to have a chance. I'm not saying they're going to do anything.
Yeah.
I just think that...
So you think he's gone after 8 weeks and that's it?
Yes, but I think when you're a team that has no chance at competing, taking a big risk like this is an interesting call. By the way, talking about Sunday, they were horrible. They put up 3 points. Ellinger's not the guy. I like that Saturday's going to stick to the run game. Let's talk about some real football.
Yep.
The Detroit Lions beat the Packers.
Yes, they did.
I'm very happy about it. The Packers have lost how many in a row? 5?
I think it's 5.
They've looked horrible.
This is the worst team we've seen in the Rodgers era.
Is it Jordan Love time?
It's not Jordan Love time. I just think Jordan Love, I think Aaron Rodgers, that would be the messiest breakup in NFL. That would be messier than Tom and Gisele's breakup. That would be awful, and it would end blood. I genuinely think that would be just awful for Green Bay.
He should be gone after this year.
He should retire. He genuinely should. I think that at this point...
Because he's not gonna. It's not gonna help him.
Save your legacy. Save your legacy and go out as he had one bad year.
I'm not saying he's bad. I think it's honestly more so the team than him. It's half and half.
Green Bay's let him down.
He's on the downhill. The team's on the downhill, which leads to him playing atrociously and throwing 3 picks. I don't think it helps his case to force his way out of there.
And Rashawn Gary's out for the year now.
Yeah, I know, but he most definitely shouldn't keep playing. I agree retirement's the way. I also don't think they should put in Jordan Love. You have to stick with Rodgers at this point. He's done so much for the franchise.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's
here's where my hot take's going to come in. I think the over/under for Packers wins the rest of the year is like 2.5.
Let's see.
And I might take the under. So I'll go through the schedule.
All right.
They have Dallas at home next week. I don't think they beat them. They have the Titans at home. We're going to talk about the Titans in a second. I think they're very underrated. They have the Eagles, no shot. Beginning of the year, before I knew the Packers would play like this, I said our Bears would beat them.
And the Bears have been good.
And right now, our Bears are looking better than the Packers. I don't think it's crazy to say they'll beat them. Then they have the Rams at home, winnable game. Dolphins on the road, not going to win. Vikings at home, winnable game, but out of that game and the Rams, like they'll probably win 1. And then they have the Lions at home to close it out. That's 2.
I see at least 3 wins.
I doubt that they only win 2 more games this year. I doubt an Aaron Rodgers team goes 5-12.
Yeah.
As things stand right now, that's what I see.
It's looking to be the. I think that right now, if I had to pick the games they're going to win, I think Tennessee. I think they looked better last night with Malik Willis than they have with Tannehill the past couple weeks.
Malik Willis didn't look good at all.
They've just been forcing it to Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I think that the Bears game, as much as I want to say the Bears are going to win, I genuinely am going to predict the Bears every week. Again, like every week we're going to talk about this.
So this sounds like a fake pick. This sounds like a fake pick. You think the Packers are going to win?
I think that the Packers have a good shot at winning this game. I still think they have probably 60% chance of winning the game. I think I'm going to take the Bears, though.
I'm so confident.
I think that they beat the Lions on the second time around.
I agree.
And I think there's potential that they find a way to upset the Vikings or Rams. So that's my...
It all depends if they turn it around or not. They're a weak team, so are the Lions. That's why the Bears, like long-term, have a great shot in this division, especially if the Vikings can't find a quarterback. Chiefs-Titans. Let's talk about this. The Chiefs beat them in OT by 3 points. I was really sad for Mike Vrabel. I think he's an underrated coach. He clearly put so much work this week into having a chance against the Chiefs, and they nearly pulled it off. The spread was off from the jump. The Titans had won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
They barely lost this. Are they legit, or are they just winning their division because they're against the Jags, Colts, and Titans?
So before the season started, I said that despite the fact that everyone thought that the Colts were going to be great, including I was one of those people, I thought that the Titans were going to be good. And my reasoning, because they always seem to be good, right? Like it makes sense. This year, they've looked good with some questionable competition. I mean, they've beat, like the teams that they've beat, let me list them. Raiders, who have been awful. Colts, who have been awful. Commanders, who have been awful. Colts, again, who have been awful. And the Texans, who have been awful.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're a fraud, but those aren't quality wins.
I think they're somewhat legit. I think they can rely on Derrick Henry and their defense. Like, they kind of have the formula to the Chiefs. They're not going to go far, but they're not the worst. They're not going to be the worst playoff team.
No, they're not a laughing stock.
And the reason I had them not win this division wasn't necessarily because I had the Colts doing so well. I thought the Colts would do well because of their schedule. But I thought the Titans would be specifically bad. And their quarterback situation has been bad, but they haven't cared. So what I want to talk about next are the Chiefs who reliant on Mahomes, but are the Titans who reliant on Derrick Henry. And I think they are. Malik Willis completed 5 passes, none of which was to a receiver. That's not winning football, and I think they can.
Is that true?
Yes.
That's wild.
And not a receiver had a catch for the Tennessee Titans. I think that's a big issue. I think Derrick Henry, he should be able to stay healthy, but realistically, it's not sustainable. As you said, their wins are against bad teams. They have the Broncos coming up. I think that's a winnable game too. So I think they'll keep on beating bad teams, but I really don't trust the Titans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Titans, I just think. I'd said they're going to have a good record.
And what do you think about my other question? Do you think the Chiefs are too reliant on Mahomes?
I mean, after seeing their O-line, like, honestly, like, a good word for that, it was their O-line dominated.
Well, no, last night, but they're supposed to dominate.
They're supposed to dominate. Last night was an atrocity for their O-line. I genuinely hope that Andy Reid has their O-lineman running today or whenever their next practice is. Mahomes was scrambling and having to evade pressure like it was the 2020 Super Bowl again.
I mean, to an extent, but I think that there were certain underlying plays, like Andrew Wiley, I know, held down Mahomes' non-blind side, his right side. So I think that O-line is not really a big worry for me.
One of the worst Chiefs O-line performances.
It's more their run blocking for me. I think he was scrambling because that's what Mahomes does. I kind of think you're overhyping.
But it was more so him doing it because he had to. The amount of times I saw him 15 yards behind the line, running with his back towards like his receivers was ridiculous.
But I think that happens because most quarterbacks usually take the sack, and that's not what Mahomes does.
Well, yeah, but it's still, you'd think with the O-line they've put together, it would be a little better.
You'd hope.
Yeah.
The Jets beat the Bills, 2017, big upset.
A shocker.
Brandon, do you think the Bills are still locked on the NFC East? When you see the Dolphins trade for Bradley Chubb, Jeff Wilson looks good. You see the Jets beat them. Do you think they're locked on the AFC East?
I mean, realistically, they should be, but the Dolphins have looked good on a 3-game win streak. Basically, every team in this division is on a win streak but the Jets, and I'm still going to take the Jets on the sheer talent they have alone. Yes, both their losses have been disappointing, but there's nothing you can really say to discount the talent that they have.
I discount the Jets. They do have a good chance at wild card, but they're not that good of a team.
They're the third I'm worried about division, though.
I'm worried about the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. I'm worried about the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins can really have a chance at Buffalo. Their offense is just as fiery. They don't have as good of a quarterback, but the receivers make that big of a difference. And having Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, which McDaniel is comfortable with from his time in San Francisco, and now the addition of Bradley Chubb on their defense, I think the Dolphins are the biggest worry.
I think the Bills are pretty much. I don't want to say pretty much safe, but I think the Bills are a safe pick. If that makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
One more game before we do rapid fire. Yep. Bucks got to win finally after a 3-game losing streak. Oh. They lost. The Rams lost. The Rams, I think we could both say, have no chance of bouncing back.
Yeah, no, this has been
to the Bucks though.
I mean they realistically should, but they just I haven't seen anything that's told me that they will. If that makes sense. They have the tools, but the O-line's bad. Brady still doesn't seem all that motivated. It's just I think that there's too much that's gotten in the way up until this point in the year.
All I'm going to say is I like them more than the Packers now, which is a change. And it's kind of nice that they're not as bad as Green Bay. Mm-hmm. I think they will come back and win the division. They don't win a playoff game. Mm-hmm. Brandon, start me off with the Thursday night game. Eagles stay undefeated.
Yeah, Eagles stayed undefeated against the Texans. Overall, Texans put up a good fight. Dameon Pierce is genuinely very, very good.
Yep. He's the new Derrick Henry. He's a bell cow.
He could be, but Eagles won the game.
Vikings 20, Commanders 17. Another team stays one loss. I really like the Vikings prospect, and they're going to run away with the division. And I don't have much to say about the Commanders. Mm-hmm. I think Heineke should stay their quarterback, but honestly, Dan Snyder sell the team.
Mm-hmm. Chargers-Falcons, very depleted Chargers team, barely beat the Falcons. Chargers are scaring me.
Yeah, nice pick. Jaguars 27, Raiders 20. I'll hurt myself here. The Raiders aren't bouncing back. I thought they had a chance. They're not. They had 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks had chances to prove themselves. Devontae Adams is still good. Josh Jacobs is still good. Waller's been dealing with injuries, but they're not a winning team, and Derek Carr is really disappointing me.
Mm-hmm. Seahawks, Cardinals. I predicted the Seahawks to, I think, win this game or at least keep it close. That they did. They won the game by 10. Geno had a good game. Kenneth Walker is a beast.
Yes. Do you know who's more of a beast? Joe Mixon. 55 fantasy points, 5 touchdowns, 1 receiving. Bengals dominated the Panthers. That's my only takeaway from this game.
Yeah.
Brandon, I tried to rush through that because I want to talk about college basketball so bad. Season starts today, a lot of cupcake games, but we're going to just give our predictions for the whole season. We're going to bring on our friend Luke Parr, huge Kansas basketball fan. You've seen him before. And we're going to talk about Kansas, the defending champs. Welcome in, Luke.
What's up, boys?
Hello. I know you're a huge Jayhawk fan. What are their chances at repeating?
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. This Kansas program in recent years has been a well-coached team with well-developed players.
And Bill Self's suspended for 4 games.
He is, yeah. I mean, I really don't think that's going to be an issue. You know, we've got Omaha tonight. We've got North Dakota State coming up, and then I mean Duke's a big game, but
he should lose to Duke without Self.
I think we beat Duke. I don't see Duke coming in as a great team. I don't think they're returning a ton of super.
And they have a new coach too.
Mm-hmm. They've got a new coach.
Their recruiting class is great.
Our I forget his name, but our guy that's going to be coaching for the next few days has been there forever. Because I do think that Bill Self and the main assistant coach are both suspended, but I still think we get the job done. We've got Wilson to lead the team. He's been there for a while. He knows what he's doing. And I think that he can get us our 4 wins
and
in those games.
Long term though, do you think they're going to repeat?
I mean, I just don't think this is the same team that we had last year, losing 6 of our 8 best players. I think that that's going to be a huge shift, and I mean, I really like Grady Dick, and I think that he is going to be the X factor for Kansas this year, but I just don't think he's going to be able to do enough to really take them to that deep tournament run. And I mean, look, Wilson has potential to take that next level step up like Oakshire did last year and maybe lead the team somewhere deep, but I just don't really see that happening. So I think they're maybe going to grab a 2 seed and make it to the Sweet 16 at best.
And I think the reason UNC and Kansas got to the title last year is because they were such experienced teams.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I'm looking at UNC this year, they're still experienced.
They're a lot of their guys.
They kept a lot of their guys. Kansas didn't. I don't realistically see new, young, freshman-led team, if Grady Dick's the best player for Kansas, making a run. But Luke, they've run the Big 12 for years. Are they going to still find a way to win it?
I mean, I think that it really just has to do with what McCullough and Wilson can do to lead this team. Yeah, because I just think that they need upperclassmen leadership to win this conference, and I mean, it's a super strong conference this year. We've got, I think, 5 ranked teams right now, A lot of transfers moving around, staying within the conference, and I think there's a lot of strength in the Big 12, but I do think that Kansas has all the pieces to at least win a share, and I do think that they'll do that this year, at least for the regular season.
I mean, the Big 12 is probably the strongest conference in college basketball. They've had the past 2 champs, but I'm actually going to go with the champ the year before. I think Baylor's experience trumps Kansas's. I think their players like L.J. Cryers should be a high pick. Adam Flagler, Flo Thamba. I think they're going to be bigger impact players than just Jalen Wilson alone. And I know McCullers, that's his name, is a big transfer from Texas Tech. He was really good there, but Baylor has the non-transfer impact, so I'm going to go with Baylor in the Big 12. Brent, who you got?
I'm personally going with Kansas. I think that I don't think the championship hangover is a thing with them. I think that self-suspension will have minimal impact, like Luke said, and I think that overall Grady Dick, by the end of the year, will establish himself as one of the best players in the country.
And I know this is a hot take. I don't have any Big 12 teams making the Final Four first off, but I think if a team's going to make a run, it's going to be one of the Texas teams. Whether it's TCU again, they looked good last year. Texas Tech, I think, always finds a way. And Texas, UT should be good. So I really don't like Baylor or Kansas to make a run to the Final Four. Let's go to the other conference predictions. The Big Ten's kind of weak this year, but Brandon, who you got winning it?
I'm going to take Illinois here. They got 2 great transfers. They got Terrence Shannon, who is big, and I think Matthew Mayer, I believe, from Baylor. So I think
that's
both
big
of
loss
those
for Baylor, by the way.
Both of those guys, I think, will help lead. Also, great recruiting class as well. But I think that this is a legit team this year, and I think they win the Big Ten for sure.
Who you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that on Illinois. I mean, I think Purdue and Iowa are both looking like solid teams, and personally, I'm not very high on Hunter Dickinson, and I don't think Michigan is gonna contest for that Big Ten championship. But they're a solid team, and they'll do something. But I think that Illinois is the clear-cut Big Ten champion this year.
Clear-cut? You're forgetting the favorite, Indiana, my team. We're going to be really good this year. Trace Jackson-Davis is always expected to be good. He's a veteran. He's on the preseason All-American team. I think he's really going to live up to expectations if he can stay healthy. We have a big freshman, Jalen Hood-Schifino. And I think although that TJD is such a big deal, I think the season relies on Xavier Johnson. Shooting guard, he played well last year, but I think the season depends on his shooting. We were weak when we couldn't hit shots. Trey Galloway needs to be there. So I think, and Miller Kopp as well. So I think if Indiana's shooting can live up to expectations, they should win the Big Ten. ACC, UNC is the clear favorite. Duke, though, did make it to the Final Four last year. How do you think Duke plays first off without Krzyzewski?
I think that there's going to be I think that no matter what happens, whether they're great or whether they're awful, it's going to get tied to Krzyzewski no matter what for at least the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah. I think it's just that's how it's going to be just because you're losing.
But I love John Shire.
I like John Shire a lot too, but you're losing arguably the greatest coach of all time regardless of sports. I mean, regardless of what sport. I think that obviously it's going to get tied to him. But I think Duke this year could be pretty good. I mean, they got one of the best recruiting classes we've seen in a while. I believe they had like 3 top 5 recruits. But I still have UNC winning this on the backs of their leaders and their seniors and fifth years.
And that's how we're going to see John Shire's coaching, really. It's more difficult when you're at a one-and-done program. So he has to develop those freshmen.
Yeah, that's what I think is really important to acknowledge talking about Duke, is that it is generally a new team every year. And I think that Krzyzewski was able to do a great job working with that and making a good team or a good product year after year. But with Shire, I'm just not sure that's going to happen, and that's going to take time to adapt to that system.
Mm-hmm. Who do you have winning the ACC?
ACC, I mean, every year it's Duke or Carolina, and this year it's clearly Carolina. I don't think Duke.
I think Miami's a good sleeper.
They're decent. I
don't think Miami's gonna. I just don't think they have a shot.
I don't know. They made it to the Elite Eight last year. I will be going with UNC as well.
I was at that game.
I was too, actually.
I think the trio of Caleb Love, RJ Davis, and Baycott's just too much. SEC.
Kentucky I think Kentucky just has a ton of talent. I mean, I think that Calipari's been kind of waiting for Krzyzewski to leave to just establish some dominance. Who knows, though? And I think that Oscar Tshiebwe is one of the best years we've seen in college basketball.
I agree. I think he's going to be the best player in college basketball again.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kentucky is the clear option, but I do think that Arkansas has put together a great recruiting class this year,
as well,
and they do have a lot of potential to do big things, but I just don't think you can trump Tshiebwe in Kentucky.
Just wait for me to talk about the Hogs. Don't even get me started. Pac-12?
Pac-12, I'm taking UCLA. I think they've returned a lot of good guys. Jaime Jaquez, Tiger Campbell, and Amari Bailey's come in. Although I think he was slightly overrated in high school, now is his time to prove that he's more than just a social media basketball player like a lot of these guys are being exposed to be. So yeah, I think that they're going to potentially have a big year.
Give me Arizona. I mean, there's a reason they were so good last year. I know they lost Matherin, but there's also a reason they're one of the favorites.
And Dalen.
Yeah, I know. Dalen Terry. He's like the sixth man. Tubulis should be their biggest player, the forward. I think out of Lithuania. But also, what's his name? The guard. Kirk Krisha. I know he was out in the tournament. His health's going to be a big difference for them this year. But I truly don't trust UCLA. After they were so overhyped last year, after they lose Johnny Juzang, I really don't trust them. So by default, I'm kind of going Arizona.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with Brandon and go with UCLA. I think that they've been a strong program for the past few years, and they're going to put something together and get things done in the Pac-12. It's not looking like a great conference this year, but I think they'll be solid, and UCLA will definitely have some fights in conference play, but I do think that they're the pretty obvious winner.
Should be a weak conference. I agree with you there. Big East, last one. I really wanted to pick Creighton. I think they're going to be a great team. They have a huge impact transfer out of South Dakota State. But I needed to go with one kind of out there team. And I'm going UConn. And I'm going to spoil my Wooden Award winner. It's Sonogo, their center. He does everything for UConn. And I think if I'm picking him to win the Wooden, I've got to pick him to be so huge for UConn this year. So I think UConn is going to come out of nowhere and really going to beat the Big East. But it's going to be difficult to dethrone Villanova and Creighton as the favorite.
I'm taking Creighton on... you were talking about Bill Schreier, correct? Yeah, I think he's going to have a huge year for them as well. And yeah, I just think that they have a very talented team overall, and I think that they could definitely make a run this year.
You, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Creighton, but I think a good sleeper pick is actually Providence. I watched them play Kansas last year. It looked like a really strong team, and I think that that will be a really close conference. They've got a lot of solid mid-rank level teams, I think, by the end of the year, and it will definitely be a dogfight out there, but I think I'm going to have to go with Providence.
That's a good call. And also, look for Ryan Kalkbrenner, their 7-1 guy. I know he got hurt in the tournament, but I think he's Creighton. That's why I think they're going to be the best team when it comes to the tournament. Let's talk about March Madness. First, Bren, do either of you have Cinderella? I know it's very difficult to predict during the season.
I currently do not have one.
I mean, I kind of like San Diego State. They're coming off a pretty hot end to the previous season. Didn't make it too far in the tournament, but I mean, they were getting a lot of hype. They've got a really strong defense, and I think they returned a lot of players, and I think that they could put something together for sure.
I'll throw in UAB. They were decent in the tournament last year, almost won a game, Jelly Walker. Who do you think the biggest disappointments of the season are going to be?
I mean, let's be real. Who else other than Gonzaga is going to be a disappointment? Year after year, they're getting crazy odds in Vegas, and I mean, it's just stealing money at this point. Gonzaga is never going to win a championship.
I think they're going to be a 1 seed, but I have to agree with you. I don't know if they make it out of the Sweet 16 once again. But I'm going to talk about disappointment for the whole season. I think Villanova. I'm going to make a hot take here. Realistically, I think the biggest coach absence in this year, guy leaving, is Jay Wright. I don't think it's Krzyzewski.
I think it's
I mean, at this point, John Shire's proven himself a lot. Krzyzewski's had a plan to hand it over to him for a while. And Jay Wright has been such a staple. He's really been the guy who's brought Nova to prominence. I think he's a big exit. I think Nova disappoints this year, despite having clear talent.
Yeah, I'm personally going to have to agree with Luke about Gonzaga. I just think that they've had much better recruiting years and been disappointing, so who's to say they won't be? I think their best recruit this year, as much as I'm a big fan of him, Braden Huff from Illinois, I think he was 95 in the class. I think he might have honestly been their best recruit. I think Timmy's good, but I don't think that they put together anything amazing this year.
I agree. And let's move to what's really interesting. The Final Four. I know it's so long away. I know we're going to have tons of changes and predictions, but let's just go with who you think is going to make the Final Four in the end. And I know you're not going to predict an 8 seed at this point. We don't know even what the seeds are going to be. But who do you have as of now? Luke, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I love Kentucky this year. Sheba's a good player. He's going to lead the team, and
after the upset last year, first round.
I think that gives it even more of a reason. That's just going to motivate them. I mean, we saw Virginia, first ever 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed, and they went back and they won the championship. So that's my first pick. And second, I think I'm gonna have to go with Houston. I think that they put something together last year. Rough loss to Villanova in the Elite Eight, but I think they redeemed themselves and make that Final Four. And then I think I'm gonna have to go with my sleeper, San Diego State, doing something special.
Cinderella always makes it.
I mean, there's always got to be one Cinderella, and I think it's gonna be them. I think they'll come in at the 6 to 8 seed range, and then I think that they will put something together with their defense and just hold teams to low scoring and make it. And then the last pick, I'm going to go with my Jayhawks. I think that they can scramble something together. If Jalen Wilson really steps up, which I think he can, I can't guarantee that he will, we could really do something good. And then Grady Dick, I really love his play. Had a great game in the preseason. And,
I think he had 20.
Yeah, he had 20 points. He's a sniper. And
but against what team?
I mean, it was it wasn't a great program, but I really think that with his shooting and Jalen Wilson's 3-level scoring ability that we could put something together.
I don't hate any of your picks. I actually came really close picking Kentucky. The only one I agree with, though, is Houston. Houston's the obvious pick. They've been great in the tournament year after year, and I think that Marcus Sasser, going into the tournament, might be the favorite for most outstanding player. He is dominant. He sat out a lot of last year, but he's really a senior. He's old. He's mature. He knows how to play the game. And Jamal Shad is coming back after dominating last year in March Madness. I think this Houston team is experienced. Like they have great coaching by Sampson. I think they're going to be dominant. UNC, they're the best team in the country. They're my champion. The Love, RJ Davis, Baycott trio is going to be unstoppable. I know they lose Manic, but I think that this UNC team is going to be so good end to end of the season. My third's Arkansas. I told you don't get me started on them, and I think that they're going to struggle early in the year having an all-freshman team, but we've seen tons of teams do it over the past few years, just playing really well in the tournament, catching fire. Duke's done it year after year.
Yeah.
I think that's what Arkansas does this year. And my fourth is the Indiana Hoosiers. A blue blood team has got to make it. I already have UNC, but realistically, I doubt that no Big Ten, no SEC, no Pac-12, no Big 12 teams make it. So I'm going Indiana. I think that if everything comes together the right way, they're the most mature team in the country, even ahead of UNC. They have the experience. They just haven't put it together before. And I think if TJD could stay healthy in the tournament, if all the shooters can be on point, if the freshmen can come in, I think Indiana's a good team to make it to the Final Four. I don't think that's a crazy pick. I don't think it's biased, but UNC realistically will be the champ.
For mine, I'm personally going to start with Kentucky. I just think, led by Oscar Tshiebwe, they're going to have a really great team, and I think Calipari could potentially put together a great year now that Krzyzewski's gone. I don't think that there's necessarily a real, I don't think that that's necessarily a cause and effect thing. I just think it's going to be something that could potentially happen. Next team, I'm going to have to agree with you with Arkansas. I just think their recruiting class is going to really click, and every guy I've seen individually on this recruiting class, I've loved, and now bringing them together is going to be fun.
going to lead them too.
I do. I think Jordan Walsh is also really good. I just think it's going to click really well. Arizona, like you said, they have a lot of experience. Although they lost their best player of last year, I think that there's still a lot of upside for them. In Illinois, I'm just super duper high on them, and I think that the Big Ten's a really great division, and whoever wins the Big Ten, it's likely that one of them makes the Final Four.
I'm glad you're hopping on the Must bus, but I really don't think Illinois makes it. Do you guys have any wooden? I think it's going to be Sunogo. I kind of talked about that already.
It's hard for me to choose just because the past 4 Wooden Award winners have all been big men. And, I don't really understand that. I don't think, in modern basketball, I honestly don't think that big men are as impactful as they used to be. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's the college level. And
same with Jokic and Giannis, though.
That is true, but I think that we need a guard this year, and I think that that's going to happen. And I think that my most likely pick is Marcus Sasser. Yeah. And then my sleeper is Max Ambess out of Oral Roberts. Now, realistically...
He's solid.
Realistically, he's probably not going to win just because he's in tiny name conference, tiny name school.
He could average 30 a game.
He could. He's been putting up crazy points for the past 3 years, but realistically, he's probably not going to win. And then also... Jalen Wilson could step up, put something together.
I think Jalen Wilson's going to underwhelm you. I think he will. He doesn't know how to be a star player.
He's disappointed me in various many times. But
many times.
I really do think that there's a lot of potential with him. He's a super skilled player. He's got a deep bag, but it just really has to do with what he can put together with this team and if he can really lead the Jayhawks this year.
Brent, who you got?
Mine personal, my first pick, I think my likely winner is a little boring. It's Armando Bacot. I think that they might have a few too many guys who are going to be controlling the ball and running the game. To part of this is anywhere near a surefire pick, but he's up there. My sleeper, Nick Smith Jr., freshman at Arkansas. If you don't know the name already, take note of him. He's going to be great this year.
And realistically, Drew Timme, I think, should be the favorite.
Yeah, betting favorite at least.
2 more things before you go. Sorry, it's been such a long episode. Monday Night Football is tonight. I hope we could get this out before the game starts. Who you got, Brent? Saints, Ravens?
Ravens by at least 10.
Oh, I have the Saints by a field goal. I think
Really?
Andy Dalton's found a way to win. The Ravens are banged up. Luke, you have a betting prop?
I'm going to have to say Lamar Jackson anytime rushing touchdown at plus 140 in Vegas. I think that's a great play. Best running quarterback in the league.
Justin Fields?
Fields
I don't know. He's coming for his back.
I like the Lamar play.
I think that's a good play, too. And the biggest storyline of this week, the Houston Astros won the World Series. I don't really want to talk about it. Do you have any comment?
As Barstool Chicago said, congrats to Dusty Baker and only Dusty Baker.
I agree with you on that. Thank you all for listening in. Sorry it went a bit long. We're going to be making some clips, so check those out.
Sure.
Later in the week, we'll be predicting next week's college basketball and NFL. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for college basketball to start more so than anything else.
Yeah, me too.
Pick up country. Let's ride.
Thank you.